Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have a fun one. I enjoy going back in time into the Wayback Machine from time to time. And this one, well, I got this one in a group of reels that I purchased, and I believe it was fished out of the bottom of the ocean. It's got a heavy concentration of dirt and debris on there. That's all dried out. This kind of says there was a nice polish behind it. My thinking on this reel is that this reel was pre-World War II and possibly closer to World War I than World War II, somewhere in the 1920s, based on the industrial design of this. This reel is a no-name reel. At least I can't find the name on it. And any channel viewer that may know the name, please let me know what it is. I'm always looking for additional information on these. It runs, as you might suspect, noisily. But other than that, this is a nice example of engineering. I want to say it's American engineering, but without knowing the name, I'm not quite certain. What I do know is it would be appropriate for saltwater or deep lakes because it did hold 200 yards of line, and that's about all I can tell in terms of any kind of identification marks on this reel. Well, I bet a friend of mine that we can clean this up and get rid of that noise. So let's see if we can. That's kind of the idea here. If you like these kinds of videos, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. I cover all kinds of reels, from the modern day reels to, well, ones that are basically a century old. And, well, I just enjoy working on the fishing reels, learning from them, and letting you know how to work on them as well. Well, we're going to start by taking off the exterior pieces. That's the handle and the handle screw. And looks like we have a plate now. 3 screws holding on the side plate. I want to say this could be called a tri-pillar reel. It's got 3. Of course, it's got the reel seat as well. I'm certain that it's an old one. I'm just not certain how old. This was probably nickel plated at one point in time. That's gone. The plating on the other side has stayed on, but it does look like it's spent a lot of time underwater with collecting mud and that. So again, I don't know. When I went to purchase the reel, all I found out was that it was in a box, and I picked up the box and said, oh, look at that. That would be interesting. It would be a wonderful subject for these how-to videos. All right, 3 screws should take the side plate off, and you can see again evidence that this thing's been buried somewhere. Not quite sure where. But this is the design of the reel. It is a direct drive reel. This has a little temper on it for controlling the spool speed. You'll see that that can come through here on the spool. Push in. I'm thinking that's probably the function of this, but I just don't know. It might just be an automatic spring load on that as well. Let's see if we can get the gears off on this side. We can. I can get one of them off. This one on the spool seems to be pretty stubborn. So let's go to our favorite cleaning fluid, which would be penetrating oil. Let's do a cleanup in aisle 7. And while I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel, particularly if you like the art of reel service and repair, if you like to learn about fishing reels, if you like to understand when they were made, how they were used, things like that. I generally try to cover that as I'm working on the reels themselves, and try to pass along what I know to you. All right, let's see if we can lever this up a little bit maybe. It is moving. It's not moving very well, but it is moving. I'm not going to force anything, but I think if we just take a screwdriver to both sides of this, we may be able to bring this off. The art of leverage. There you go. Got it off. Set that aside. I'm going to soak both of those. And of course, you want to get it off because on this side of it, you want to clean that and all of the dirt and debris that's under there as well. So in cleaning, I generally use a very soft paper towel or cloth where I can get away with it. And then from time to time, it just needs to be a little bit more aggressive, like on the rims here. So I'm going to go to a polishing steel wool here. And see, it looks like this rim damage is just corrosion from exposure to the water. And what I initially thought was kind of dirt, in this case is not. It's a back down to the copper base or brass base of this reel. We can probably get this off two ways. Let's see which way it wants to come off. Looks like these screws are anchored to the side plate here. So I think if I can remove these, I can leave the other part of the frame intact. A lot of the fun of this is just understanding how these reels were engineered. They're made beautifully. How they were used, this one would be in the lake or the ocean. And what kind of things have carried forward over time. So we can see that there's a break on this reel, this piece here. I'm not sure, it doesn't look like the piece on this side is, oh, it does move. It moves left and right. Okay, it moves this way. And that makes sense. That would scoot down this way and push it in for more break. Well, now that we know it moves, let's put a little bit of oil on that as well. I choose penetrating oil. It doesn't harm the surfaces of it when you're trying to clean. And what it does do is it helps me to dissolve the greases and dirt and clean it up. When I take these screws out, I like to make sure they're all the same size. If they're different, I like to make sure that I know where those differences go. In this case, it looks like they're all the same size. And then when I'm done taking those pieces and parts off, I put them into a parts tray for safekeeping. I always recommend that you have a procedure or a practice on how you're going to keep these segregated, where you're going to keep them, and when it's time, you'll know where to go to look for them. In this case, this is my parts tray. We're going to remove that plate now. We should be able to remove this. Again, quite a bit of evidence that this thing was underwater. This reel is going to get a second chance. I'm going to win my coffee bet with my friend about quieting this thing down and making it able to go fishing. I think he's just resident skeptic here. He just likes to believe that anything that's old can't be fixed or not worth fixing, and of course I totally disagree with that. All right, I think we mop that up. No bearings in this reel. The bearings came later. Again, kind of indications of time. This is an interesting thing. This is two small screws, actually, or it looks like they're two small screws. They may be rivets. Yeah, probably rivets from this side, holding on this wire ring, which is a click, and that click has still got a nice pointed arrow tongue to it. That's fun. Sure, it works. All right, we're just going to clean up a little bit more of that on the inside here. And we'll set this aside. This is the big one that will tell us everything about appearances once we do a little bit of cleaning on it. Again, I'm going to use that oil here. There's solutions out there. You can use rod and reel cleaner. You can use some other things, but for now, just going with the general purpose kind of stuff. I'm going to start with a scrubby pad. And I think what we have here is the worn off plating, actually. I don't know. No, we have shiny metal underneath. Boy, that's just going to take some time. So we're kind of able to do this by hand with a paper towel. There's a little bit of stubbornness. So again, this is 40, that's 0000 steel wool. It's a polishing steel wool. I'm just going lightly. Seems to be a little bit of this that's kind of just hung up on here for some reason. Now it certainly looks better than it was. Let's come on over on this side, do the same. This side seems to have done a better job here in terms of not accumulating that. And that would make sense because this is not the gear side. The gear side would have had the greases and oils in it. But again, if you're down on the bottom of the ocean here, this is what you may get as a result. Or the lake. This could have been in a stream. I didn't get answers. I only got a reel. Okay, put that back together here. And again, if anybody knows the name of this reel, who manufactured it, I'm guessing, again, closer to World War I and World War II, so 1920s. But again, I don't know a manufacturer. I don't even know if it's an American-made reel. I'm guessing it is. Okay, that's about as much as I'm going to do. I don't pretend to want to restore these to the showroom finishes. I actually like the patinas on reels. I don't like dirt, so I don't mind cleaning dirt off, but I don't like polishing or doing other things that, well, just wouldn't have happened at the time. We're going to put some grease into that back fitting. And that is a cap. It could be removed. Put our spool back on. There's a little bit of cleanup here. Again, that penetrating oil just left to sit. It's doing an awful lot for us here. Now this looks a little bit like dirt. Beautiful piece of metal there. Wow. Okay. All right, this comes in this way. Let's center the... Well, there we go. It's not the bronze or the brass. It is dirt. That's wear there. Okay. We're going to go back to our tray then and get the 5 screws that we're holding this piece on. And most of what you need in doing an old reel like this is just a basic understanding of how fishing reels were made. And then, of course, a little bit of a mechanical understanding of the reel itself. As I mentioned, I kind of knew that we had a temper here for the spool cast. Didn't quite know how it was going to show up. And then we found out on that side plate there, it's going to move side to side to push it down. So now we know how that operates. But if you have a base understanding of fishing reel manufacture, design, you know that a big gear turns a little gear, turns something to collect it. In a conventional reel, that something to collect it would be the spool. In a spinning reel, it would be the rotor that's going to wrap the line around it. Sometimes those spinning reels are called fixed spool reels, as the spool doesn't turn, but the rotor does. But once you get that away, the rest of it are just basically bells and whistles to get attached to them. Bearings, the like, anti-reverse ratchets, free spools, things that have come a long way since, well, these reels were made. This is a direct drive reel. It's going to go front and back. There is no stops on it. Okay, we've just put these together. And actually, we can give this a little spin right now. See how that spool is spinning. Look at that. Wow, look at that, huh? No bearings. What a joy. Absolute joy. Wow. Okay, now let's put the gears back in. See how we can do with that. So these have been soaking in penetrating oil. What we're going to do now is just grab a brush. We did see a little bit of dirt on there, so we're going to pull through on that. I'm going to check our teeth, make sure that they're all clean. The brush actually transferred something over to this. Then we'll get a little bit of grease to the spool shaft, through the gear. I believe that this gear can go either way, up or down. I think it's just a straight gear. but I do remember the top of it, so we'll put it in the way it came off the reel. Snap that in. We'll do the same thing with the main gear. So folks are always asking, why fiddle around, why work with the old reels? Why aren't the modern reels much better? Define better is, I guess, the first thing I generally say. It usually comes down to materials, bearings, ease of use, lightweight, things like that. But in terms of engineering, I kind of sort of seriously doubt that all. Let's move this back and forth then. Oh, look at that. Perks right up. Look at that. Nice. Wasn't doing that before, but that penetrating oil just made the difference there, right? Let's move it back and forth, and that's going to control the tension on that little raised spring there. And that's going to control the tension for a backlash. Nice innovation, simple. It's a good idea all around. All right, we just put the case over the main gear. Take our 3 screws. One of them seems to have a little bit of mud on them, so let's kind of grease all 3. Interestingly enough, right now I'm fighting that little tension from that spring. I'm going to move it that way to get this case on without being too much of a problem. So I know that spring control is going to work. Get this one started. One more. I'll put that handle on. We'll see how we did. See if I win my bet. I don't know. At the price of coffee these days, that bet's getting expensive, right? All right. Handle. Handle screw. I like the innovation. Look at the screws, got the cap built right into it. Beautiful. Okay, there we go. Wipe this down. Time for a new paper towel. A little bit of oil can go onto this handle. Clear our decks. And I'll tell you what we did. So we found this reel in a box of reels. It was part of a group that I had purchased. Didn't have any idea about the reel at all. Sort of looked like the reel went for a swim. Sure it did. Well, we never want to give up on reels if they're complete. So we decided to use this as a video project to show you how an older reel was made, one from the 20s or 30s. Still don't know the manufacturer. Again, if you know the manufacturer, please let me know. And we decided to take it apart, show you the engineering and the mechanicals behind this. And, well, let's give it a try. Well, there's a little bit of a chirp. I'm seeing that the spool is bent. It's a little bit out of shape. Sometimes you can adjust that. Sometimes you can't. Yeah, it's running true enough that you could take this fishing. And then, of course, we said we have this tensioner here. Let's move that over. Yeah, that's pushing it further this way. And now you can hear the chirp more. So we have a good reel. We don't know what that reel is. We have a little bit of damage on the spool. I don't know, shelf sitter or take it fishing? Why don't you leave your thoughts in the comment section? Should we put this one out on the water and deal with that little chirp? Or should we let it sit and become a conversation piece? Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I truly appreciate your efforts day in and day out, your career choice, and your dedication to task. I also want to thank everybody who's been watching. I appreciate everything it is that you do to make this channel successful, to guide me in the types of videos you would like to see, and, well, to help me make fishing reel service and repair not only interesting, but fun as well. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.